Hey, here's how the story goes. I was going to college one morning to teach a class to theater majors, or theater history, or some subject like that. And it was Halloween. And Halloween is a special time for theater majors. I mean, makeup, costumes, and I knew they'd be anxious to get out of class and start prepping for their big time parties that night. So I was thinking about Halloween, and I was driving to the campus. And in 30 minutes, before I parked in the parking lot, I'd come up with this short story. So near the end of class, I closed my book on the desk. I turned to the students and I said, okay, I'm going to let you guys go, but first I have a short story to tell you. And this is the story I told them. I said I had a very good friend who was a professional photographer. She took photographs for national magazines and National Geographic, and she traveled the world taking her photographs. And one day she mailed me, and in the mailing was a photograph of a picture she had taken in front of an old Victorian home in Colorado. And she said, look at this picture and tell me what you think. And so I looked at the picture and looked at the picture, and then I realized in the picture was the image of a grainy-faced, older-looking gentleman in the window of the abandoned house that she had photographed. I said, I called her. I said, hey, it's not a big deal. It's a homeless man that snuck into the house or something like that. She said, I've got another mailing coming to you. Take a look at those photographs. Well, the other mailing had photographs she had taken at the Lincoln Memorial, at the Washington Monument. She had one in New York. In every photograph, there was a picture of that man standing there. Maybe in the back of a group of tourists, or sitting on, a wall near where she was photographing. He was in every photograph. She said in her message with those photographs, I think he's haunting me. I didn't think much about it after that. She was close. I enjoyed her company. We'd known each other since college. Then one day I received a letter, and the letter came from her office, one of her office mates in New York, and it said, I know you're very good friends with her, and I'm sorry I have to bring you this tragic news, but she passed away. She was on assignment in Monaco and was driving in a taxi at night on a mountain road, and it had a horrible crash, and she died in the crash. And enclosed with his mailing was a newspaper article, so I could read more about what actually happened. And I looked at the article and I read it, and I was very sad. My friend had passed away. Then I went back and looked at the article again, and there was a photograph in the article, in the newspaper, obviously taken at night, of this mangled car on a mountain road. There were, spectators standing around it, staring. One guy was even looking back at the camera when the photograph was taken. And I looked at it, and I looked at it closely, and I got a magnifying glass and looked at it, and in the back window of that mangled car was the face of the figure that had been haunting all of her photographs. And he had a big smile on his face. Now, as I told that story to my students, the shock on their face, they were enthralled, they were connected to it. It was all I could do to hold it together and not laugh out loud. I said to them, now if you believe this story, you really need to go out tonight and celebrate big for Halloween. It's a good ghost story. And students then were yelling at me, is it true? Is it true? Is the story true? And I said, no, it's fiction. Now, what's interesting about that, I went back to my office and I typed up a short story of that story. Obviously, it was a good one. And Universal Studios, a development wing of Universal Studios, contacted me, and they wanted to develop that short story into a film. Yeah, it never happened, never went there. That's not a big deal. Years later, I wanted to come back to that story, and I did. And I put it in a novel. And I'll talk to you about this novel and how it was inspired by that short ghost story I told my students on Halloween. That's enough for today. Have a good